There we go.
We up?
Yep.
What's up? I am waiting on the panel still, so wanted to go ahead and get started with you all. Message that I just got was the panel is watching my video from Toronto, and then they are going to go live with me. So I want to go ahead and get started, so there wasn't a delay once I actually hear from them. Still trying to communicate and figure out what's going on.
Sean McNair is ready.
Me too. What's up, Sean?
We got a good crew here. Aaron, Paulo, Maureen, Joe, Jamie. You're apparently watching.
I was. I'm not now.
Fred is on.
Cool.
Maureen was born ready. Todd Fossey. Angela. Joe says whoop whoop. I feel like we should have put on a show. Jeremy's waiting. Brad's on.
Awesome.
This is by request to make you look. Never mind. I'm going to stop. Bigger.
Still waiting. I'm not sure who all is going to be on this. They didn't let me know. I'm pretty sure that Doug, Marcaida, and Fred Mastro just finished teaching some seminars out there, and they were kind of wrapping up the seminar and then gathering the group and watching my video, and then we're gonna call me. So that's where we are now.
I can keep the camera on this guy, or I can show you some quotes on our wall.
Yeah, do that.
I thought maybe you'd be okay with that. Got some quotes up here. We have a hole that has been patched up and not yet painted. This was made by UFC fighter Justine Kish. It's a great thing to come back to. We got Andre and Tuan on, Elizabeth. No, I'm just behind the camera.
You guys should have came here.
Yes. Yeah, with 39 viewers, we're maybe close to edging out football.
Who's playing? What's going on? Is it a good game?
Yeah, seriously, give us some updates. This is what's going on right now.
This is what I got.
Nice big blank screen. Hang on. Yeah, nope, blank screen. It is kind of weird being here without music. And the air conditioner's off so that we made sure you all could hear Ryan and the panel. Steelers and Chiefs are playing.
Is D'Angelo playing?
Hornets versus Yankees. Steelers are dominating. Well, this is good because I don't have cable either, so I can catch up on everything. purple game. Okay, well, we're not missing much. Request for you to sing. Maybe do some knife skills. We've got some sticks in the back. You want to do some?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't claim expert status in anything.
What's up, Todd? E says her triceps need the work, so make you yell. Oh. Well, if anyone's doing plank, you're at, let's see, about 27 minutes of it, right? If nothing, it's a little Fit to Fight reunion on our page, so you know. Mindy's on.
Yeah, but it's not cool that I can't see them.
That's true. That's true. Shoot, I didn't check the building for ninjas. Did you?
Who are you talking to?
You've been given expert at silence status.
I'm still working on it.
People are liking this video of you sitting here doing nothing.
Actually, if I was better at silence, we wouldn't be sitting here because I wouldn't have shot the video that made everybody lose their minds.
Yeah, Ward, this is it. This is what you got. Why don't you tell us about the knife that's coming out?
Should have brought it. Pretty cool. I designed a knife. Pretty happy about it. Working with a company called First Edge that makes knives for the kits that the SEALs carry. It's a fixed blade. Carry it inside the waistband. Pretty cool. Oh, I think we got something happening.
Hashtag tactical sitting. Love it.
Who understands what the 12 attacks are? Different attacks of 12, right?
Okay, Ryan, let me have you on standby, brother.
Isn't that an angle of attack? So if he says it's all about direct kill, is the direct kill, whatever they do, also one of the angles? So how can you say that doesn't happen? Right? But there's a lot of things in what he says.
What's that?
In terms of, that you don't call yourself.
Yeah, I can hear.
But we're going to go live, and here he is, folks. So this is Ryan Hoover going live.
What's up, guys?
You hear us?
I can hear great.
There you go. So welcome. We're here right now with a panel over here. This is one of our Filipino Martial Arts group over here. Thanks for joining us.
Sure thing.
And one of the things we wanted to come up with, first of all, was to clarify the video that you put out. Okay? So first of all, who are you directing that video to?
Anybody that calls, look, so here's the thing, Doug, and you know, I think you know me relatively well. I teach seminars a lot, and I always have people ask me about, what about a trained knife fighter? And my answer is, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. So when we were shooting in Toronto, Paulo asked me about knife fighters, and that's where the video came from. So it's directed at anybody that calls himself a knife fighter that actually doesn't knife fight. I don't know what that means. To me, a knife fighter would be a very short-lived career.
Agreed. I think a lot of Filipino martial arts, and I just answered this whole group right here, it's pretty much predominantly Filipino martial artists over here.
Sure.
And not one person here calls themselves a knife fighter.
So I wasn't talking to them then.
Is this directed to Filipino martial arts in specific, or anyone in specific?
Anyone in specific? Nope.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Ryan? So everybody's shy to say something. Yes.
He said he doesn't know what a knife fighter is.
We got Sonny Season over here, and he's got a question for you, Ryan.
Okay.
Just my question, you said you don't know what a knife fighter is. If someone asks you, have you dealt with a knife fighter, or whatever the case may be,
Sure.
have you experienced training with a Filipino martial arts instructor?
I have.
Or sponsored or something to that degree?
Yeah, I spent, so I worked with, if you guys are familiar with, I'm sure you are, Bobby Tawada. I spent about 3 years doing private training with Bobby and Balintawak Arnis. I trained for about 5 years, but I did about 3 years with Bobby. It was honestly some of the most fun that I'd ever had training. My eye-hand coordination was fantastic. My hands were as fast as they could get. But I'll tell you, the thing that stuck out from me when working from Bobby was him telling me one day, you know, in a real stick fight or a real knife fight, it's just whack whack. And that stuck with me, man. So yeah, I mean, that's my experiences with Balintawak in terms of my hands-on experience.
Okay, so I got a question also. So
Sure.
You talked about the 12 angles of attack, that you know some Filipino martial arts do a lot of that.
Yep.
That's specific to what we do. People flow with the knife fields that we do.
Sure.
Like you said, when he talks about the kill points, it's a direct thrust.
Yeah.
The thrust, and you go, I don't even know if any of those attacks or any of those flows ever happened in a fight. Well, the 12 angles of attacks, any kind of thrust or attack on a person comes from one of those angles.
Sure. I honestly, Doug, I don't remember exactly what what I said, but I think I was referring to flow drills. Maybe not. Is that what you're asking me about?
The flow drills, but let's talk about the flow drills themselves.
Okay.
You see that in training in terms of, does this ever happen in a fight? The flow drills, one piece of a flow. The continuous flow is just for continuity. You got to start somewhere. Let's talk about boxing.
Sure.
Boxing has different angles. You shadow box, you throw a jab, cross, hook, and everything else.
Absolutely.
That's the flow drill.
Yep.
So, does it happen in boxing? Is that a part of boxing? When I throw a jab, a hook, and cross, and everything else, it's still there.
Sure.
But in the jab of the training, it's part of that also.
I think for me, what seems to be lacking in a flow drill is aliveness. Whereas in boxing, it's more alive. It's not a set, memorized pattern of moves and movements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But in the process of getting into boxing and training, so boxer, you just said, you just jump in there and get in the ring, you're a boxer right away.
Sure.
There's a training method to that. They start off with shadow boxing.
Sure.
Then they do focus bits. Focus bits training is a form of all these patterns. It's preset. I go for a jab, you give me a jab. I go for a hook, you give me a hook, and all these.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
I'll agree to disagree there. I don't think it is the same. I'm responding to, even in mitt work, which is relatively fundamental from the puncher side, but pretty advanced from the mitt holder side, because the mitt holder has to be much more advanced than the puncher himself does. I think it's a lot more alive because I'm responding to those calls as opposed to responding to some set pattern. So even if it's, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you continue. There's another question coming from the group.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, here you go. Hold on. Thank you.
In relation to your training with Bobby Tawada,
Yes.
particular, you know that they start with a particular grouping
Yes.
of 1 through 4 or 5, something of that
Sure.
nature, right?
Sure.
At the end of that grouping, when you have studied that system for a certain amount of time, it's alive, quite alive, and also very spontaneous, but you've had the understanding and the training from the time put in of understanding where those angles are coming from. Whether, and Bobby's very well adapted at doing it heavy hand because he's a boxer too.
Yeah, Bobby's boxing is tremendous.
Exactly. So how can you discount the flow drills that Balintawak does and say it's not alive and it's not spontaneous and it's set? Because you are correct in the process of learning it, it is. Just as anybody from any particular martial art might say, okay, outside block, straight front thrust. That's martial arts 101. That's street fighting 101. But along the way, in the process of training and all those things, in whatever system that anybody studies, it starts off preset.
Sure.
And then you eventually get to the spontaneity and the aliveness that you were talking about. That's all I'm addressing.
Ryan.
Well, I'll just say that, and I'm not sure if it was in this video or the video that I went live with, you know, my thing was, if I'm talking about somebody relying on a knife to save their life. Most of the guys that I work with, and that's who I'm talking about, most of the people I work with, they don't have a lifetime to devote to the kind of complexities that I see in most Filipino martial arts. I think it's great. I love training it, but if you can't devote an inordinate amount of time to get to the what was the gentleman's name that was just speaking?
That was Sunny Season.
Okay, to get to the level that he was speaking about, in my world, in a situation where if I'm working with a police officer who's got to worry about all sorts of other things, or if I'm just working with a woman that's going to go out jogging, most of these people are not going to devote that kind of a time to learn something that is as complex as even Balintawak. You know, when he's talking about groups 4 and 5, you start getting incredibly complex. I mean, people watch Bobby work, and it's so fast and fluid that you can't even tell what's going on.
Well, some people have said that, you know, in some systems I've heard that complex is nothing more than variations or better execution of basics. So when it may look complex to other people, it's just basically better execution and exploration of other angles because they've mastered the basics.
So, Doug, let me ask you something. Doug, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
So you have a lot of high-level guys there. They're all teaching the same way that they always learned? Their curriculum hasn't evolved? Their curriculum hasn't changed?
Most of the Guru Rambaliki, one of the luminaries.
Yep, I know him well. I don't know him, but I know of him well.
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
Yeah, no, everything evolves. I mean, if you think about it, it's like we're not driving Model A's anymore.
Sure.
You know, so it evolves. You know, and what you have to look at is, I have a law enforcement background, and most cops I know, they're not in there shooting every week.
No doubt.
Under fire stuff. So, but they're carrying that weapon. They're going to deploy it when they want it, or hopefully when they need it.
Sure.
And that's the way I look at it with the blade. It's like, if you're carrying it, you're going to use it. So you should have a working knowledge of it. And here's my other beef.
I totally agree with that, Ron.
Most people will put that gun in their holster and it gets like oxidized because they're not pulling it out. You know, and if you care about your life, you care about it, then it's going to benefit you.
Absolutely.
So it's in the holder's hands to familiarize themselves with that weapon and put themselves under the stress that they might be under attack. Drills can do it, and Doug and I were talking about this yesterday. And my little saying that I always say is that a learned man is going to know what to extract and then reject whatever everything else. I don't want to sound like a Bruce Lee thing.
No.
But it's true. You know, my instructor Dan in Asano used to say, Ron, we go up and we'll a boxer will jump rope, so he's going to sit like that. But if I went, hey, man, you want to go? Come. You know, and I just sat there and spent it for it. I'm not extracting the benefit of what it gave me.
Sure.
I'm just choosing to use that whole drill, and that's where people will falter. You know, you got to learn how to take the pieces, am I right? And just extract what you want and reject what else. You know,
right.
That isn't there.
But
and some people can really put this together, and other people are going to clunk their way through it.
Sure. If we go back to what you mentioned about the police officer and you know, not getting a ton of range time and those kinds of things, I'm in total agreement, and I think one of the biggest issues is a lack of putting a priority on training. My point is exactly that because we know that that's the case, we know that the odds are they're not going to put that kind of premium on training, then having something that's a simpler methodology, a simpler delivery system, they're more likely to survive in a violent encounter. I'm not saying they shouldn't devote to something like this. I'm saying that the odds are they're not going to.
Well, no, I'm with you. I'm with you with that. But they still need to drill that simpler method. I can't just go, hey, done. Let's do this. I want you to go here. Got that? Never have to do it anymore. You got that down. You're good. We're done. So they have to refine it and keep it current. You
totally
stay on
agree.
the bicycle and keep pedaling.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
Look, I'm not.
So
I mean, I'm not.
But you got to know when to discard.
Right. I'm not saying. Look, I'm all for training. That's what I do. Right. I'm not discarding training at all. I think that there are better ways to get to where those kind of people need to get faster. That's what I'm saying. For their uses. I'm not talking about the art. I think the art is fantastic.
But it's just, I think it involves, and I can see your point, but in a knife altercation, it's like this. I'm going to do this little thing. Hopefully you can see that. These are my keys. I want them back there. Okay, if I throw it to you, catch it. All right, see the way you caught it? Now, if I throw it this way, oh, you caught it the other hand. So now we can make a system out of that. I can say, Doug, this is your right hand overhand, or palm up catch. The other one could be the left, left hand down, whatever. Whatever way that you pick it up. Now, if we just keep systematizing it, maybe he gets used to doing it this way, like a forehand, a backhand, a forehand, a backhand. But it's batting practice. It's time, repetition. He's honing that. He's getting that. He's letting the computer figure out the different lines. And, oh, if that knife's coming here, oh, this hand can take it. But if it's more here, oh, no, I'm going to pull it into me. And after a while, the computer will pick it up. So it is tedious, repetitious. And like if you look at Balintawak, which I just came from a Balintawak gathering, my wife and I, Diana's here, a couple weeks ago, and I'm watching these guys and they're ripping it, man. It's nice, it's good, and it's the same angles, a lot of it. But you know what? I see them throw curveballs and they pick it up. While Willie Loriano and Diana's here, she can tell you we do Kapika Bomb, and they have all these. Hi, that's Diana.
Hi.
We're picking up. We did this art. We do this art Kapika Bomb. It's a tire.
Yep.
And it's got you got like the 7 count, the 8 count, the 9 count, the 3 count. All these counts. And then we'll do them, and it's running fast and fast and fast. And somebody screws up, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, and you'll pick up this odd, weird angle. And they go, that's when they applaud. They go, now you're doing the art because it came out for you when you hit that oddball angle. And that's what it is. And for the people who are kind of like nonchalant and just kind of like weekend warrior hobbyists, you get what you put into it, And in our world, if you're a baseball player, if you're batting 300, you're making $1 million a year. That means you're only hitting 3 out of 10 balls. In knife fighting, you got to try to pick up all 10. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. So I work this. Knife scares the oomph out of me, and I think that's why I gravitate towards it so much. And that's why I drill. I do spar, and you need that.
Sure.
Eric Paulson had a great thing. He's like, see these guys who are working out and they're hitting focus mitts. He goes, they're not boxing. You're not boxing. You're hitting mitts. Boxing is getting in there and working and sparring, trading. But it doesn't negate the importance of drilling. If I'm reading it right, it's like, should we do these drills, right? Is what your kind of thing is?
Part of it. Look, I'm following everything you're saying, Ron, and I appreciate you being here and talking. My point was, and I know it's hard in a video like that because you don't see kind of the lead up, but I was there talking about, we're in Graffiti Alley in Toronto at midnight, and I'm there talking about a cop walking that beat and him having to deploy a knife. And I don't know if you saw the live video that I did too, and knowing that guy's not going to put in the kind of time that you're talking about. The people that are going to put in that kind of time, they're probably in the background right there because they love the art of doing it. But the people that I think that are going to put themselves in a dangerous situation on a daily basis, they're actually going to have to deploy that knife under real stress and hit that adrenaline dump and all those things. I don't think that's the way it's going to work.
Departments, if we're talking law enforcement departments and stuff like that, always go to funding. It's all about the money.
Oh, sure. And I am talking about law, but not just law enforcement.
But then there's that slow, or I must say that minute little amount. Any law enforcement here? There it is. Is the department paying him here? No. He's doing it on his own.
Sure.
You know what? Sure. He's the guy, proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. He's the guy who's prepared. He's going to go in, and if something hits the fan, hopefully he can come out of it unscathed or as much unscathed as possible. So some people will fall, and some good people might fall, but at least you're going to your creator with a tool in your box trying to, work your thing versus going, I got something in my hand and I'm going to be not crude about it, and it's not a knife, so whatever that's worth. So,
no, but
I don't want to take
No, not at all.
Can I go back to Ron for a second?
Let's go ahead.
So, Ron, I know a bit about your background, Muay Thai and Judo, and Inosanto and all of that. How much of that, I'm curious, how much of that plays into, if you're going to deploy a knife, how much is it FMA and how much is it playing into the other things that you do?
I got into a knife confrontation about a year ago, right, Diana? It was crazy. I don't know if you read about this, I put it on Facebook, but some guy tried to run me off a road. He was upset with me, and then he chased me down. He jumped out, and he had a bat. So I was on my way to train for a movie. So I'm like, whoa. So I reached in my car. He seen me reach in. He ran back to his car. I go, 3 things. He's coming back with a knife, a gun, or he's leaving. And sure enough, he had a knife and the bat. I go, I'm going to get him a stick and knife fight. I was like, whoa. I thought out everything when he's walking up and he's walking up with this rage face, and he was going to come and get something, And he had the knife out, and it was like a hunting style knife, and it was probably cheap, whatever, it wasn't great, but he had it. And I had mine, and in fact, I had this one with me. And I didn't do the snap open cool because somebody taught me something, and I just kind of went, look, and I just kind of put it here, and I looked at him, and I had it worked out in my head. It doesn't mean I wasn't scared. I'll tell you what the biggest fear was, because there's all factors to fear is. I was confident I was going to whack this guy as soon as he raised a hand, and I thought, I don't want to do this to another human being. It went through my head. I've been in a few knife confrontations when I was a police officer. I've been shot before. I knew I was going to change his life forever, probably mine. And my fear base in that was, I don't want to do this to this guy. It's a stupid car altercation. And luckily, the rage face on him, he looked, and all of a sudden he had, I think, a little come to Jesus meeting with himself. And he went, yeah, and it was great. There was an old couple there yelling, as you put those weapons away at the gas station. And it worked out okay. But I had it in my head, and I feel confident it was going to be my training. And I think that's what gave me that base of not being, like, come on. I was so happy it worked out that way. And I got to thank Filipino Martial Arts for it in my head, because that's what gave it to me. That's what I felt gave it to me. When I was on the department, I was in a big riot. We had to go in, and my wife's father, Dan Inosanto, had given me this little thing that we used to do, and like, the Willie Dutch salutation with the wipe, and you kind of cover yourself. We had to wait. We're waiting to go in. I'm getting more nervous. And I know I'm with a bunch of people who don't fight really, So we all have our little riot gear on, and we have shields and a baton. And I'm looking at all these guys, and it's getting hairier and hairier. And we had to leave. I was on the streets at the time, but they brought us into the jails because there's a big riot, Cook County Jail in Chicago. And in the wing, there's a couple hundred guys. There are only like 20 of us going at a time. I'm going 20 against, like a wing of 100 guys each. And I'm getting a little antsy. And I could feel the heart going a little bit. And I needed something. And I kind of went through that whole little thing that Inosanto gave me. And I felt when I went in there, it helped. I know it helped. And you could say it's training, it's part of it. And if you look at every single aspect as a lesson and you drill it, I feel it comes out. We teach cursive handwriting, although mine looks like a hand grenade went off. People get the flow, they get used to it, and I believe your training does come out. And when a baseball coach says, we're going to go pick up rounders, a pro ball player goes, coach, I got that. I don't need it anymore. I'm good with that. No way. You get your ass out there and you pick up the grounders and you hone that until it becomes second nature. And if a cop falls because he doesn't train, my heart would feel bad for him. But you know what? Maybe that wasn't the profession he should have been in. And if the department doesn't pay for it, and you go, well, I'm not going to train because of it, that's your fault too. So sorry, I have to keep going.
To address the extra training that police officers, just a little background. I co-produced the Bladed Hand documentary, and I was doing a follow-up documentary talking to both military people, spec ops people who are retired and still active, as well as police officers. And Ron is correct. that the budget that whatever agency is involved with determines the level of training that each individual may get up to a certain level. Beyond that, it's up to them about what they want to do. But not one police officer or SEAL or Green Beret that I spoke with said that Filipino knife fighting or drilling or training is not good. They said any kind of training is good. But with specific to blade training, they really endorsed it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Also,
Okay.
one more thing,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yep.
You're talking about if Filipino martial arts training, the flow drills and everything does come out. I'll guarantee you, I've got 3 police officers who studied under me.
Sure.
We don't spar, we don't beat up, they use it. The whole thing is, when I was working in the hospital, they always come to the emergency room, they come in, and they always thank me for what happened. They tell me detailed stories of how it came to being. One of the things was one guy bum rushed me, locked him in, he knew enough to switch his baton to the other side and lock him out, choke him out. Another time, another guy came out with him, whacked the hand, broke it, came down, it worked. Now, do we practice and spar all the time? No. Do we do the flow drills? We did, but they knew enough to bring it out. Another combat controller, going in there, my student taught him basic flow drills. That's all he knew with a knife. His gun gets pulled out, he got jammed, he knew where the knife was, got out, stabbed, the guy was going after him. So it does come out because of the flow, the constant repetition. So say that, I have confidence in those things that whether they're full intent, destroy or anything else, it's training. And these training will come out because it addresses the fact that you're physically doing something so that you can react to it. May not be stress-inducing, some of them know how to relax rather than being very stressed in training, but we've had that, All in all, though, I understand what you did. I understand what you wrote, and I totally agree. It's the context that I think a lot of Filipino martial arts over here felt that it was targeted toward that because of the words used of 12 angles of attack. Who else does that? The nice of flow drills. It felt like it negated what we did. Yet everything you said was on point. Because I agree with your philosophy. I know, it's about training and training right.
Sure.
But at the same time, it was one of the things that we felt the context is what surprised a lot of people.
Right. So, Doug.
Yeah, pretty much. Right.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
I'm great.
How are you? Okay, actually, I just showed Doug something that was printed on me. It's something that I didn't create. A friend of mine created it. It was a couple years ago, and it was in the same vein as what you were talking about. Call myself a padded stick fighter because I train with padded sticks.
Sure.
So I fight with sticks with another person who has a stick. That perhaps maybe we can be called stick fighters, and so on and so forth. There's a whole thing that I said about it. And I agree on that perspective. But as far as the drilling is concerned, to me, those are attribute drills that we do. It depends on who's training. It depends like what Guru Ron said earlier. Sometimes it's just weekend warriors that are going around there and just having a good time doing it. Maybe if you're looking at them, maybe it doesn't look so complicated. It doesn't look so sophisticated, or it doesn't look like it's going to work. But that's their expression until you see somebody who actually does it for a living. Here's the story that I'll tell you. This happened at the Arizona Academy. One that Guru Arizona just came up, got an email or a fax from. His name is Pat Trey. He's retired now, but he's still Team 6?
Yes.
Still Team 6. Yeah. Okay. And he had to read this in front of the class. And it's a short one. He says, Guru Dan, how are you? I just want to tell you thank you for the training that you have given me. I had to use one of your lessons to save my life and a teammate's life. That means a lot. And that's a guy that went through all the stuff. When he does stuff, completely different than somebody else who's just learning it. And if that's what we're all looking at, I get it. Like if I'm looking at somebody who's just learning it, it's not going to look good. And it's like, okay, that's not going to work. Okay?
Sure.
But to say that those drills are not going to take anybody to a perspective, it's a scenario drill. If you're training law enforcement and you're at the kill house, here's the scenario, blank. Here's what they do. They'll go through a drill. That's a drill. Right?
Sure.
Same thing as the Filipino martial arts drill. Depends on who's doing it. But I agree with a lot of what you said. That's all I have to say.
I think so.
One last thing.
Hang on one second. Hang on. So, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with a ton of what you're saying. But my point is, I think a lot of the, and again, this is just from my training perspective, and dealing with mostly people that, again, aren't going to devote the kind of time that you guys are going to devote to training. Like I said, I spent 5 years total with Bobby, 3 years doing private training. It was the most fun I'd ever had in training. But even he told me, he said, real knife fight, real stick fight is just whack whack. That was his exact words to me. So in my world, in order to get somebody from 0 to 100 relatively quickly, I think there are better methods of doing it. That was my whole point. And when I'm talking about people that say they're knife fighters, I don't think I'm talking about you guys, because you just said you're not talking about being a knife fighter. I don't know that I've ever heard Doug say he was a knife fighter either. To me, that's a different thing. So when people ask me in a seminar, well, what about a knife fighter? I'm like, I give the answer I gave before. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. I'm much more, what Mr. Balicki said earlier, knife scares the shit out of me. In terms of just dealing with somebody that with intent with a knife, it's way scarier to me than gun or anything else. So the guy that spends 10 years in a federal penitentiary that has done that and felt that, that's a scary thing to me. When I see high level guys like you guys working, it's not that I don't think it doesn't look sophisticated. I think it looks incredibly sophisticated, actually. It's kind of a bit of my point, really. I think we're just looking at it from different perspectives. I'm looking at it from trying to get people from 0 to 100 relatively quickly. For you guys, it's a lifelong endeavor, which I totally get. I mean, martial arts training is a lifelong endeavor for me. I mean, this is what I do. The other thing is, and I think Doug understands this. I'm not sure because I haven't talked to him yet. The video was harsh and blunt, and if I'd have been on the other end of it, I would have been pissed off. But if I hadn't done it the way I did it, this wouldn't be happening right now. There wouldn't be this dialogue. There wouldn't be this conversation. There just wouldn't. I know there wouldn't. There's no way you guys would have gotten together and spent time talking to me about this stuff.
And you're right, and for that I thank you.
I thank you guys for spending the time chatting this.
And that, and bringing these truths out, I think everybody here, so everybody agree that this brought us to think about what we do. Absolutely. Right? Like what I said, like what I said, Ryan, I agree with a lot of things you say, because there are some times when you look at certain training, it's too complex. It's not going to happen that way. I get that. And I know that you get that. But the complexity is a scenario drill. And I get that too, understand that too. We all know that's not going to happen. But the complexity is a place for us to have fun.
Sure.
That's the game. We create a playground. We create that playground, and we play in that playground, and we play. That's how I call it.
I get that. And Bobby used to use the term play all the time. I totally get that. And I think I even said that in the video. I can't remember. I shot like 40 videos in 2 days, so I don't remember exactly. But I see Fred there. Does Fred have anything to say on this, Doug?
Fred, you have anything to say? Right?
What's up, Fred?
It's been a long day.
I prefer to talk in your face.
Sure.
When I see you.
Me too.
This is more blah, 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 blah. Okay? But it's important to respect. You know me. You
Sure.
need to respect.
Sure.
Do you see one day a knife in your life in the street?
Yes.
How many fights you have?
How many?
In your life?
I couldn't understand. What?
Knife. How many fights do you have in the street?
With a knife?
Knife.
2. One with a box cutter, one with a pair of scissors.
Excuse me?
One with box cutter, one with pair of scissors.
Yes.
Two.
Okay. Okay. And what do you use? Tamaga?
You mean what? How did I defend myself?
Yeah.
It was mostly wrestling.
Why? Your style is Krav Maga.
My study is everything.
You know what I think about Krav Maga, what I explain in face.
Sure.
Bullshit.
I own no. I don't.
You need to respect Filipino. I come back to Penchaxila, and you need to respect.
Well, first of all, I don't need you to tell me what I need to do, but I respect all training.
Perfect. We discuss when I see you.
Sure.
It's better.
Okay, so moving on. So nonetheless, you expected something to happen, right? I think what happens here is there's so much passion about what we do, and when put into question, it does stir up emotions.
Sure. And like I said, Doug, if I were on the other end, I would have felt the same.
Not the same way. And
Sure.
so hope you understand how emotions run.
Sure.
You know, same way.
Wait.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. No, please. I'm sorry. How did this? I just walked in. How did this all start?
No, that's just one of the backgrounds. One of the things that he does.
All right. How old are you? Or, I know you're younger than me.
I'm 42.
Oh, you are younger than me.
Well, I don't look it.
I just feel like. Oh, gosh, I can't believe this has happened. But all right. Well, this is interesting. I just arrived here. What was your name?
I'm Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello.
I just arrived here, seriously, but I didn't want this to end on a strange note. I sort of feel like I'm an ambassador for martial arts. Anyhow, I'm Daniel Sano's daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Daniel Sano. And I always find it's interesting watching history. I've watched martial arts grow in this country since I was a baby, when virtually hardly any martial arts was even allowed in America, and my dad has helped bring in so many different martial arts styles and systems, and I think this is important for all of you to know. I'm a little confused with this whole thing about Krav Maga. I will tell you, when I remember the Krav Maga name coming in around the 80s, I was actually very happy that I felt that the Krav Maga people that I knew, the leaders at that time, I thought they were very smart, actually. I know this seems like a different universe that I've walked, maybe from you, but I was really happy that they were actually incorporating Filipino martial arts into their system. I thought that was smart. And I think at the end of the day, whether you call yourself Krav Maga, or Jiu-Jitsu, or Judo, I don't care what system it is, the bigger picture is when we have students, whether they are from a military background or a police background, and in my case, I've worked with a lot of people in the entertainment field, and I had to get them very quickly with something, is that we teach people to survive, and that's it. So the people I knew that were leaders in Krav Maga, I thought they were wonderful and used to train with them at my dad's school, and we're incorporating Filipino martial arts. And even though sometimes they may have not acknowledged it at their schools or their studios, I felt good that they were giving options. That's the main thing, is that we have the freedom to express ourselves. Now, my godfather is the late Bruce Lee. And I think one of the things, if he was here today, he would just say that it's important that we all find in freedom what works best for us. The other thing, you were mentioning something that I thought was interesting about timing, how you have to teach people quickly. Now, my father was the first martial artist to teach the NFL martial arts. The Dallas Cowboys were the first people. And I know it's football, but sometimes people metaphorically say football is like the little hand of the little brother of war. And it was really interesting because my father had to quickly teach them something so they can know how to deal with a 200, 300, 400-pound guy coming at them. And so he had to figure out quickly a system for them. And so in his case, at first they thought, oh, Wing Chun, but interesting enough, he had to use a system called, a drill called Hoover, which is actually Filipino. And then for the people that wanted to stick with the program, like Randy White, they started learning other things from Muay Thai to Wing Chun, all kinds of forms of just the tactile reflexes. Now, it's interesting, my dad and I were also talking about the Gracies. And my dad actually had helped, a lot of people don't know this historically, my father actually helped bring young Hickson Gracie into this country. Many of you probably don't know that. And my father felt it was important because he knew right away, he recognized in seconds that they had created a system to help train people to learn it. If we look at the old models of how people used to teach martial arts, even going back in the 40s, the 30s, it used to be you throw a punch and somebody tactically has to go against it, right? But what he loved about the Grace is they created a training program so you could learn jiu-jitsu quicker. Thus, we had, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yet we know that Jiu-Jitsu came originally from Japan, right? And that's the beauty is with each one of us, we had to explore different systems. I know this is silly. I recently had, or actually about a year and a half ago, I had to train Melissa McCarthy for a movie called Spy. And it was horrible because they only gave me 3.5 weeks with her. It was terrible. And they wanted me to make her look amazing. And I had to teach her 2.5 minutes and she had no martial arts experience. And I was very lucky because I knew an amazing sports scientist by the name of Dr. Bob Ward. And I hope you guys will check out his name. But he's got several books, but he was actually the sports scientist and conditioning coach to the Dallas Cowboys. And he's actually what we call CrossFit today, actually can all link back to him. And he started exploring different ways how the body can learn things faster and actually figure out methods. So with her, I actually had to tap into her tennis background just to quickly get her to move. And to move with a knife and well, actually it's a frying pan too, but if you saw the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. So there are ways, and that's the one thing, so you were talking about timing. There are ways that you can teach people to learn certain basics aggressively, and that's why we have to always keep pushing the boundaries. And so anyway, I just want to say that too, and I definitely don't want to leave this impression here, and I know I'm just arriving, but because I'm here, I feel like I do have to say, I have a lot of friends that do Krav Maga, and they've been very respectful. And I don't know who the present leaders are today, but I definitely know the earlier leaders were so respectful. And now today we're seeing people in Taekwondo and all kinds of different arts and systems. We're all sharing, we're all learning each other's stuff. And that's the bigger picture, because we want our people to know how to defend themselves or to be the next generation teachers. And that's all I want to leave you with, okay?
I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, Ryan. My name is Paul McCarthy. I'm no one compared to the people you've spoken to, but my background is in sports science, and I've been doing some research on motor learning and what we do to learn. And what I think you're saying is that just doing the flow drills is not enough. It's good, right? You're not completely disbanding.
Sure. Sure.
But what I'd like to challenge you with, maybe I can get you some information later, is that I do think that these flow drills are the best way to get from 1 to 100. If you've got a short amount of time, just like Singapore, that's what Diana was talking about, I think this is it, because you watch Hoover, you watch the power foot drills and sparse drills, you're getting thousands of repetitions in a few minutes, as opposed to the other types of drills, you're only getting dozens or hundreds maybe. And the science shows that. The science shows that if you challenge the brain in progressively compact ways, your cognitive function enhances. There's dozens of scientists that have proved this. And so I think that's why potentially that these drills could be the best way to get to 1 from 100. But that's going to depend, just like everyone said, on what you need to do and what you want to do.
Sure.
It's going to tell you what you want to do. So if you want that information, I can get you the science behind it. I would love to continue this learning, because that's the major thing. So sorry to take up.
No. I appreciate the input.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody. Any questions from the crowd?
There's one right here about, and just to kind of compound on what all this is about, flow training. My name is Ellis McGehee. I've been with Ron, Diana, and Guru Willie forever. And the one thing that I noticed, just outside of any kind of martial arts training, if you will, just the continuity of movement. They have a guy by the name of Steve Maxwell. I'm probably sure you've probably heard of him.
Yep.
He has a whole DVD series of joint mobility stuff, and it's all about continuity. Basically, what happens is when you learn these flow drills, you develop that instinct to react quicker to something. Sure, I understand exactly what you're coming from in terms of the art side of it and dealing with an aggressive attacker, of course. But as a trained individual, you already know a real situation versus a classroom situation, a private situation with a teacher one-on-one and things of that nature. It's just developing that instinct to react as quickly as you can to an attack, because it's about survival instinct, and it's more about the individual's personality more so than the system that he's training. I think they kind of go hand in hand with one another. And I agree with what you're saying about that too, because again, you're talking about a lady, a teenage boy, a small guy like me dealing with a bigger, aggressive attacker. What can I do? Automatically, I'm not thinking flow. I'm just thinking, okay, recognize what's coming at me and deal with it as it happens. Yes, exactly. Point of reference, what Guru Ron just said. That's all.
Thank you. Well, Ryan, thanks a lot for coming on. Thank you to the panel, guys, and everybody. It's a great discussion. I mean, you've opened up a lot of our ideas. A lot of the things that we thought we're doing, now hopefully we have a different way of doing it. But the context that was said, it brought up a big discussion for Filipino martial arts. Thanks for coming on. I'll see you soon, buddy.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was interesting. Well, hopefully it awakens, and that's all. The whole thing is to awaken your idea.
All right, well, what do you think about that? Are you done talking about it?
Well, I got a lot of stories.
Yes. What do you think about
There are a couple of people there that I wouldn't mind training with, but at the end of the day, them trying to sell me on flow drills is just... I've done them. I've seen them. I've felt them. There are better ways of going about it. Just is.
What did you think about their comparison of flow drills to something like mitt work?
There's no comparison. None. Much more live, much more dynamic. Flow drills are there's set patterns. They're static. They're stayed. Is there some tactile sensitivity stuff to be gained there? Yeah, probably. But even with that, I think there are better ways of doing it. We can do it with live wrestling, live clinch work. If you look at a guy like Ron Balicki, I guarantee you, outside of that setting, he's going to tell you that, there's a reason that he has an extensive background in Shudo and Muay Thai and things like that. His wife was awesome, by the way. I could sit and talk to her for a while. She was fantastic.
Anything else you want to add? They really just kind of focused on the flow drills.
Yeah, that really bothered them, I think. Which is weird, since that's not what the video was about at all. I think maybe I need to go back and watch it, but I think I maybe said something flow drill one time in however long that video was. But, like I told them, if I was on the other side, I would probably... Actually, day one, I've been pissed off. Day two, I might have had my feelings hurt a little bit. Day three, I'd have been looking at what I'm doing and thinking about, maybe they have a point. They obviously have a different way of going about it, and that's cool. It's fine. It's on them. Like I said, there's a couple guys there that I appreciated what they said and how they said it, and I heard probably a dozen times guys saying that they agreed with a lot of what I said. Whether they would have said that beforehand, I don't know. So if that's the case, then there's some growth there, and it is what it is. Like I said, I think it was Diana. I would talk to her for a while. I think she'd be, and Balicki too. I think that's a guy I've heard of for a long time, and I think he probably has a lot to offer, and I think he understands where I'm coming from. Some of the guys, I think they're just they want to defend their art, and I get that, but I'm not trying to defend an art. I'm not trying to defend a lineage or a background or anything like that. My goal is to make people safer, and I have to do that in a way that I think is best for the people that I come into contact with. So that's it for me. Later.